Welcome to Big Blend Radio with your hosts, Lisa and Nancy, editors of BigBlendMagazine.com.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Big Blend Radio with Nancy and Lisa, the crazy mother-daughter travel team on the Love Your Parks tour and publishers of Big Blend magazines, which is all kinds of digital publications on all kinds of things. So check it out at BigBlendMagazines.com. So today we're very excited. We're going to chat with award-winning author Ryan Jacobson. And dude, he's written over 60 books.
That's amazing.
I don't know how, but he has.
Yeah.
And I'm very excited, along with Deb Mercier, his partner in Lake 7 Creative. They are flipping the choose your path concept on its head when it comes to books. So it is really cool. They've got this whole new series coming out, and it is the Detective U series. So it's for middle grade kids, where, you're reading about the Wizard of Oz, but you can choose what happens. Do you save Toto or not? I chose to save Toto. So anyway, this new series comes out and October 11th. So that's a good date. So stay tuned for that. And you can go to Lake and the number 7creative.com. So Ryan, welcome to the show. How are you?
Great. Thanks for having me. I'm doing wonderfully today. How about you?
Oh, we're doing good. And I had to save Toto. Toto. I say Toto, but
Well, yeah.
How
can you not?
Okay, so this is exciting what you're doing, because we're having fun, and I'm not middle grade, neither is Nancy, but we got into Can You Survive the Wonderful Wizard of Oz? And it is different and at the same time interactive. And I think in this day and age, we're watching how books, we're digital magazines, but we still prefer the print, it's like a print book, but I think it's interactive for kids where they're getting to create, and it's kind of stimulating different functions in their brain. Tell us what led you to do the books this way.
Well, I started doing Choose Your Path books almost by accident. I was very familiar with the format as a child because I was not a reader as a child. I only read comic books, and I read Sports Illustrated. And that, back when I was younger, did not count as reading. So I was in the reluctant reader category. My mom brought home some Choose Your Path books. I think I was probably in 5th grade. And I just loved it. It was just such an amazing experience. It was like playing a game while you're reading a book. And I just loved the challenge of trying to survive the story. So that's where it all came from. And as an adult, I had been having conversations with other authors about how much I loved these books. And I wrote a manuscript called Lost in the Wild. And I thought it was fine. It was about a brother and sister who got lost up in the Boundary Waters in northern Minnesota. Seemed like it was missing something, though, like it wasn't quite there yet. And a friend of mine, an author friend, he dared me to turn it into a Choose Your Path book. And so I thought,
wow.
Well, sure.
If you've been dared, you've got to do it.
Yeah, you have to.
You have to, right? So I gave it a try, and I loved it. I didn't love writing all those death scenes that you have to write in a Choose Your Path book, but I loved how it turned out, and I thought this is just right. And so I was able to get it published, and I've been focusing mainly on those ever since.
This is cool because it is like this creative, back in our print days of the magazine, we used to create our own crossword puzzles. And we would use words that are part of what was the stories in the magazine. It was just this whole complex, crazy thing. And it was, not that easy to actually sit and put your own crossword puzzle together. It really wasn't. Now we have software that just does it. And it's like, oh, well, that's boring now. Because I like enjoyed this. It was like a love-hate thing.
Right.
But you have to flip your brain to do it. I know it's like Choose Your Path, but this is more like flip your brain and kind of think your way through it. And I think kids enjoy a puzzle, and there's a responsibility that comes with it. So they feel like they're accomplishing something when they're reading.
Absolutely. Making it, I know, speaking for myself as a child, I was always so mad the first time I died, because I always wanted to make it through the story alive. I wanted a flawless reading experience, and I never achieved it. So it's fun to bring that to children nowadays, where they can like challenge themselves and try to get through the story without dying, or dying in as few chances as possible.
Yeah, because you have to start again, right? If you
Well,
die, you have to go back. Yeah.
Yes.
See, this is
that's
like a
cool
board
because
game, but in a
you
book.
actually
Yeah.
you actually have to think, instead of just mindlessly reading a book. You have to stop and think. You have to make choices. You have to live with your choices. So it's a really good thing to prepare kids for when they get older. It's a good thing.
Mm.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like, reading, of course, creates empathy in the
Mhm.
reader. And this is like creating empathy on another level, where,
Mhm.
and like you said, it's also an introduction to choices and consequences. Granted, they're a little more severe in these books than they generally are in real life, but there is a lot of value to this sort of reading experience, on top of the fact that it is very appealing to feel like you're playing a board game or a video game.
Mhm.
But you're reading. See, that's the key
Yeah.
thing. That's what they miss in that. And I think, well, and it is like a comic book too, because it's creating action
Definitely.
within the book.
Mhm.
That the comic always has some kind of, I don't know, I'm still stuck on Mad Magazine. That's my comic.
Oh, that's
It's
hardly
a
a
fat,
compliment.
I
It's a
know,
little
I
bit
still,
What
different,
counts up?
but
What counts up?
I can't help it. I can't help it. So 60 books, how the heck did you do that?
yeah.
I don't know. It's hard for
It's
me.
the winter in Minnesota. That's what it is. I
Well,
think it
that's
is.
part of it, but and I do have this problem where I'll start writing a book, and then I'll get another idea that will make me want to write the new book instead. So
Mhm.
to be fair, a lot of those books are probably co-authored, because that used to happen to me more often than not, 10, 15 years ago, where I would be writing a book, I'd have it outlined, I'd have it half written, and I'd come up with a new idea that I was so excited about that I just had to quit working on this other one and start working on this new one. And that's how I got to know Deb Mercier. She finished more than one book for me that I didn't want to do anymore, because I had a bigger and better idea to pursue.
Yeah,
See, that's like painting where I know it's a painter. I've started painting and then I think of something else. Now I need to start the other one because I'll forget it, or I think I'll forget it. And you want to strike while the iron's hot. So you get over there and you end up with 3 or 4 paintings all going at the same time. Do you finish all 4? Rarely.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, because I don't know, it's a thing.
Teamwork
A
is
spark.
good. Teamwork is good. It's in writing. I mean, even Nancy and I do that too. We tag each other. Like, I'll just get stuck on something like, oh, I want this to be so perfect. And she'll just come along and say, get over it. Here, just do this and it'll be fine. And I'm like, I'll sweat on it for days. You know what I mean? It's like
No.
teamwork opens up other doors, other possibilities. And it just because our minds go somewhere else doesn't mean that your partner's minds don't still have good stuff going. You know what I mean? You need the
Yeah.
team.
Yeah, and Deb is so creative too. She is great to work with. I'll give her my outlines. I like to write it with outlines. I think she prefers not to, but she humors me. So I'll give her my outlines, and it's always so fun to see what she does with those and how she makes them differently. And there's a lot of back and forth that naturally occurs. Well, she'll write something one way, and then I'll shoot back, and well, maybe it'd be better if we did this. What do you think about this? And so we end up, I think we end up coming with a much better end product because of that.
That's cool.
So the Wizard of Oz one, I think, is really perfectly timed to come out because everyone does. I mean, the Wizard of Oz comes on TV or it's played on, Thanksgiving weekend, the holidays. Can you survive the wonderful Wizard of Oz? So it would be really a fun time because people may be watching it for the first time. Kids may be doing that. But you were saying in the book that it's not the same, but you should still try and read the book later,
Yeah, the movie and the book have a lot of interesting differences that I didn't remember until I read the book again as an adult. Like the Wicked Witch of the West only has one eye, for example. I didn't know that. I didn't know that. And Glinda is not the Good Witch of the North. Glinda is the Good Witch of the South in the book.
See?
So
And even the name sounds right. Yeah, Glinda sounds more Southern.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was actually able to use that a couple of times to sort of mislead readers, even where they
Hmm.
might expect one way to be the way it is, but in the book it's different. So we stuck with the book.
Oh, okay, that's cool. So now
Hmm.
that's out, and then well, it's coming out, well, the day after this airs. Okay, so let's get that part. So you've got the Ghost of Old Central School. So this is okay. Again, it's October. This is perfect. Tell us about this one,
Hmm.
because, like, I mean, ghosts in schools. They live there. They do. Every school's haunted.
Yes, absolutely. This was a fun one. I actually started this book uh, more than 10 years ago, and I was probably a third of the way through it. And then this movie came out on Cartoon Network, Scooby-Doo, The Mystery Begins. And
Hmm.
it was eerily similar to the manuscript that I had written, like so similar. And it's just coincidence because, no one had seen this except me. So it was just weird how similar the stories were. So I'm like, all right, I'm not doing this now. So I put it away and left it
Hmm.
for 10 years. I came back to it when I decided I wanted to do a new mystery Choose Your Path series. I had an idea to make the Choose Your Path format even better with mysteries. And we did that with this. So I pulled the manuscript back out, sort of used my notes and my outline, revised it, revamped it, and then pulled Deb on board to help me finish it. And we created this brand new format that I am really excited about, where it is like playing a board game or it is like playing a video
Hmm.
game. As the reader, you're not really spoon-fed anything here. You're the one finding the clues. You're the one identifying the suspects. And then at the end, you're not told who did it. It's not revealed to you. You get all the information in the book and you get to choose from the list which suspect you think did it at the end and then find out if
Cool.
you're right.
Oh,
That's
wow.
cool.
Wow.
I
So that's
like that.
intense. So that's some thinking. So does it work
Mm.
differently if it's digital or whether it's hardcover?
These books, well, it'll be the same hardcover and paperback, but
Okay.
digitally, I think these books do work very well digitally.
Mm.
With a book in hand, you're jumping to, jump to page 87. Now jump to page
Mm.
23, and that's how these books are formatted. Digitally, you're just clicking on a link,
Yeah,
Okay.
so it works well.
Oh,
nice.
cool. So eventually, do you see like characters popping out and just, I just, my brain goes there. Like, I want the comic thing to go live inside of digital. That's
Hmm.
Nancy's role. She wants to animate everything.
I
Like, that
know,
would be
I
kind of
do.
cool. Like a ghost does pop out of a book,
Oh,
you
yeah,
know?
it'd be awesome.
Those sorts of experiences are available on
Mm.
VR, virtual reality, like the Oculus, for example. There are comic
Mm.
books that you can like go into, and it is a really unique experience. You're
Wow.
surrounded by the story. I love it.
Oh my gosh.
Me
But that's, I
too.
mean, that is, that's like some serious geek out work to make those. That's like,
But it's
but it's
so
cool.
effective.
It's
It
cool.
is. It
It
is.
it's being immersed into another world to me. It's like,
Hmm.
you
Yeah.
know,
It,
yeah.
if I knew how to make one of those, I'd probably give it a try, but I can barely get a keyboard to work.
Yeah.
Well, I
Well,
can do
I
some
think you're
stuff. I got a
doing
lot to
pretty good.
learn, but I know where I want to go with it.
Yeah. And everybody needs to have an accent. That's always a thing. So tell us about the empty cabin. That
The
just even that title is just like, dude.
Yeah.
The Empty Cabin is another Detective View book where the reader is the main character. And in this story, the reader is working at a summer resort owned by his or her parents. And there's a regular guest who comes every year and is sort of like a grandmother figure to the main character. And when she goes missing, no one thinks it's a big deal except the main character because the main character knows her so well. And so the rest of the story is first trying to figure out where this guest is, and then what happened to her, and then figure out which of the resort guests is behind it all.
Ooh.
Oh, I like
Mm.
this. This is
Mm.
fun. Now, where do these ideas come from?
Who knows?
He
I
just
get a
shakes
lot.
his head and an idea pops
Yes,
out his ear.
I get a lot of ideas from reading other books. Of course, that's
Mm.
Yeah.
probably the number one way to generate ideas is just read, read, read. And that always sparks the imagination. Otherwise, a lot of times it's collaboration. Like Deb wrote The Empty Cabin. So basically with that one, I gave her the premise, like, okay, so we want this to be a, nature outdoors themed mystery, maybe a missing person. And she came up with most of the rest herself.
So was she always a writer? I mean, tell us a little bit about both of your backgrounds. I mean, for you, were you always thinking that you're going to go into writing?
Well, I got to college. This was more than a few years ago. I got to college and I had no clue what I wanted to do. I was thinking math. I was thinking economics. I was thinking English. I was even thinking music for a time. I ended up choosing an English major because I didn't have to take any tests. It was just essay. So that was very appealing.
This is great.
Alrighty then.
This is fun. This is fun. And so what about Deb? For her, was she writing? Was that something she aspired to do? Become a writer?
I don't know her background pre-college, but or even pre-real world, but I know she works. She has worked as a writer. Like she was a newspaper editor. She's been a technical writer. But I think she and I both agree that we would love to be writing books full time if we could. It's just fun.
Yeah, that
fun.
sounds way better.
The creative, yeah. And being a newspaper editor, that's hardcore. That's hardcore work and fast, that turnaround that's a hard thing. I mean, with this kind of, slew of books that you've put together, do you have to like really stick on deadline? And is that hard to do if you have to?
It is hard. That's one of the hardest things about it is getting these books done on time. And that whole time frame shifted this year, which was new to me. I was thinking I had until like June to get these books to print, to get them out on time. I found out in I believe March, might have even been February, March, that I had to get them to print like right now. And so Deb and I scrambled to get the books done that we could get done. I had to postpone a couple of books that I wanted to do just because there wasn't time to do them and get them done in time. But printers, a lot of printers wouldn't even bid on the books because they're so, overloaded with work and they're having trouble getting paper. So I was able to find a couple of printers that would bid on it. And the one I ultimately awarded it to, it's taken 6 months to get these books done.
Wow.
Due to various, supply chain problems.
Wow. That's what people don't see in the book world. And just so many industries that we don't think about are being affected, and hopefully it'll shift, as we plow through this and get it. I mean, it's like, it's hard to even imagine that we're already in that fall quarter where it's going to be, New Year's just now. How does that happen? It's wild how fast things have, everything was like at a grinding halt. And then all of a sudden, let's go. But it's not, it's just weird. It's a weird time. Are you going to write a pandemic book? Like pick your virus.
Yeah.
What, monkeypox or COVID?
I don't have plans to, but if you write it, send it to me. I would love to read it.
I don't know if it'll be for kids. I don't want to scare them.
Oh no, it could be the virus that changed the world.
Oh, that's it. Ooh,
yeah.
Ghostbusters versus the virus.
I like it.
Kind of, I like that. Like, I don't know. I'm into marshmallows today for some reason, but I mean, when no, we gotta have a marshmallow man or something in a book. He's like maybe for Halloween. And the thing is, if you have too much fire around, then he'll melt his marshmallow. We don't want that. But
that's
like
cool.
when you're writing this to keep it middle age, how hard is that to understand that age group? Because I mean, I think kids are way smarter than when I was a middle grade kid. Like, how do you gauge that?
Well, it's actually not that hard to me because that's about what my writing level is. I don't have to do a lot different. You're right though. A middle grade reader can generally read, with some exceptions, can read just about anything,
Mhm.
as long as it's of interest to them. So,
Mhm.
there are some times when I will maybe choose a different word, rarely. There's some times when I'll shorten a couple of sentences, but for the most part, I write it, and I just let it be,
Mm.
because they're very capable readers at that age.
Yeah,
Mhm.
they're smart. I mean, and they're dealing with, I mean, kids are dealing with things that we didn't have to when we were at school.
And
It's
things move,
hardcore.
and it moves
Yeah.
fast,
But
way
I think that
faster.
that's what I like about what you're doing is that they can have ownership of this story. I mean, every time you read, it's your own personal experience, which I think is so important for kids. They have their own little place they can go to feel something the way they want to, you know. But this is like you're kind of setting sail on your own ship with this. And I think it gives them something that they can do or fix, or you know what I mean? I think,
Control.
control. I hate using that word control, but
I
it's really
know.
true because
Yes.
Yeah.
so much is crazy around right now for kids.
Mhm.
I think they're in a really just a tough place to be. And if they can get some entertainment, some education at the same time, but also start making decisions and steering their own course, that's going to help them, to have some confidence, that
Mhm.
I think it's cool, and besides, the stories are fun. Let's go to the other ones too that you guys you're relaunching.
Yep.
And Can You Survive the Call of the Wild? So that was the first
Mm.
one, right? That you were talking about.
That was the first one we ever did back in 2011. We chose that one pretty strategically because the distributor we had was a nature and outdoors distributor. So
Okay,
we
Mm.
cool.
wanted a really nature themed book, outdoors themed book that would get them to take the series and distribute it for us. So Call of the Wild was a pretty obvious choice for us.
And
Mm.
that's a cool name. I mean, that's
Yes.
that's it's
Mm.
just, yeah, everybody wants to be part of that. And then Can You Survive the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes? So this is
That's
cool
funny.
because I wonder, like, do kids now have to learn who Sherlock Holmes is,
Mhm.
I hope not. I guess I don't know. I think
Yeah.
Sherlock Holmes is such a fixture in pop culture that I would think
It
that kids
it
at least know
it's
the name.
it's interesting because if you ask somebody, was Sherlock Holmes real? You can see this look on their face where they're like, oh, I don't know. Was he a
Yeah.
real person or not?
Hmm. We interviewed an author who wrote about Sherlock Holmes as though he's one of
Mhm.
the characters in his historical novel, which is kind of crazy. It
Yeah.
it that's kind of cool to do those kind of things.
Mhm.
Like, it's like carrying the torch, for the character to keep living on, you
Yeah,
know?
I've read some Sherlock Holmes historical fiction. In fact, one of the novels takes place, 20 minutes from my house. So
Oh,
I can't
cool.
remember what it's called, but yeah,
Ah,
I think there was a period of time when I thought Sherlock Holmes was real.
yeah, I
Well, why
always thought
not?
he was, and then I was like, wait a minute. Yeah, and then it's such a disappointment to find out that he wasn't.
What do you
It's
mean?
just like, what? That he's not real.
What do you mean?
What do you mean?
He's
Oh, I
friends with
mean,
Santa Claus. Uh-oh, we're gonna get in trouble. All right, I'm I'm going back to marshmallows, man.
yeah.
All right, Can You Survive Dracula? Come on, that is
Oh,
cool.
cool. That's
That's
way
epic.
cool.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, that's probably my favorite, classic literature.
Mm,
I've read that book multiple times, and so
mm,
that was very high on my list of books to tackle. So
mm,
that was
mm.
that was really fun. One of the challenges with that one was to, well, with all of them really, is you have to tone down the violence. I think,
Yeah,
at
you
least I
do.
tried to tone down the
Mhm.
violence. So that was a unique problem with Dracula. Although I guess it was more of a problem with Call of the Wild. Call
mm.
of the Wild is just full of animal abuse, and you can't
Mm,
you can't cut that out and still tell the story.
right.
Yeah.
So I did try to tone them. Yeah,
Mm,
it's still in there. In fact, I put a warning in the beginning of the book about that. Just be warned that there is some animal abuse in here, and some
mm.
beloved characters are going to die along the way. So hopefully the reader isn't turned off by that.
But that's real life too. I mean, it's like,
Mhm.
we used to live in Kenya and South Africa, and you'd go out and see animals, and if a
Mm.
kill happened with a lion's taking down an impala, some people freak out and they bail. And I'm like, this is life. And we're like, cool, dude. But then at the same time, you're like, save
Mm-mm.
the impala. You know what I mean? It's like, but
No,
that's the
you
way nature
can't.
is. And so it's
Yeah.
a very weird, and people look at you like you're weird because you'll be photographing a lion kill. But it is pretty amazing to see how the attack happens. But you can't ignore that that's what life is, you
Right.
know?
Mhm.
So
They
I
have to
can
eat.
understand that. Yeah, they have to eat, and I can understand that
Mhm.
dilemma. So what are you working on now? Does
I
it have
just
marshmallows?
no marshmallows, but I just
No.
finished a picture book about
Oh,
uh, it's about a boy with Angelman syndrome, which is it's a developmental disorder that can be pretty severe. My nephew has it, so
Hmm.
I wrote the book with him in mind, and it's just about a boy who goes on this the imaginative, fanciful adventure up into the stars and interacts with the constellations.
oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
I
that's I
want to
believe
do
that's
Hmm.
that.
coming out next spring. It's called Up
Mm.
Where the Stars Are. So I just finished that. And then
Cool.
I recently told Deb that I need 2 more manuscripts, by November.
Oh,
So
that's
Hmm.
nice. How kind of you.
yeah, so
Hmm.
she's like, "What?"
Ooh,
Well, it sounds
that
like
makes me
fun.
I want to animate the constellations
Mm.
now.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Cool.
what does your office look like? Do you put things like constellations? I mean, are you messy? Are you like colors everywhere? Because I feel like your mind is like, let's go play everywhere.
I'm very messy. It drives my wife crazy. But actually, my wall is pretty blank behind me. I just put up
Yeah.
this black curtain about 2 minutes before I jumped on with you. We just painted the basement, and the basement is going to be, my work area, and it's starting to take shape. But there's papers everywhere, and there's boxes everywhere.
Mm.
And then I also have the problem of books everywhere right now because I just got a big
Mm.
shipment of books in. So those
Oh,
have like consumed the living room upstairs, and my wife is ready to move out, I think, because she's so tired of
oh.
Uh-oh.
having books everywhere.
She's moving you into
Uh-oh.
the basement. Well, that's how it was when we were printing magazines. We had pallets and pallets,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, with
the garage. There
stuff.
was no garage. That was
No,
the magazines, and
it
if
took
you,
over everything, even the
it
house, even
does.
the living
But
room took
but
over
it's exciting
everything.
for you when you're writing. Do you do research to say, okay, does this really happen in real life, or so is it like the research part, or are you just going with what the story is?
I do research as I need to. I do like to make the believable things believable. So
Mm.
I don't often get you know too in the weeds with like history and factual things like that. I tend to prefer the
Mm.
more fantastical adventures. But
Mm.
yeah, I will do research, and especially when you're doing a survival book, you don't want to be giving kids bad information either. Like Lost
Mm.
in the
No.
Wild was the first Choose Your Path book I wrote. That is based on survival advice from experts.
Mm.
Oh, that's cool. Because the research part is fun too. It's like,
It can
ooh,
be.
we can do
Oh,
this. Yeah,
yeah.
because you can find out things that when you're learning, you can find out, oh, we could add this in, which we didn't think of before. That's cool. I like the one in the stars.
Mm.
That now, do you listen to music when you write?
I can't.
Ah,
It's too distracting. I do like to have white noise though. So a lot of times when I'm working, I'll have a fan on, or in the
oh, okay.
summertime here, I'll have the dehumidifier on, and it's a nice hum in the background. So
Yeah,
I do like the white noise while I'm working.
Hmm.
yeah. I
That's
heard you
interesting.
play Baroque music. It helps. I
Yeah.
don't know. I might throw the
Oh,
little
I don't
Baroque
know.
thing out the window.
That sounds really annoying to me. I mean, I like
Ding,
that
ding, ding,
style
ding,
of
ding.
music, but
Smash.
I
I
don't
don't
think
think
I could
so.
think with all that going on. Uh-uh.
I do listen to music all day. I have
Mm.
Pandora playing in the background all day while I'm
Mm.
working. But if
Yeah.
I'm actually writing or proofreading or editing, I have to turn the music off.
We proofread with accents. Because if you read it out loud at the British accent, then you
Yeah.
have to slow down and think about what you're saying. And we found that that's pretty effective,
Oh,
but don't read a magazine because you might find we might switch words around to be more of a British That's the way to roll. Well, congratulations on everything you're doing. I mean, you've got
Thank you.
this whole line
Special.
of books coming out. So everyone, lake7creative.com. Is that the best place for people to connect with you for the books?
Yep, they can also go to chooseyourpathbooks.com.
Oh, okay.
That's a link that will redirect them to the website, but it might be easier to remember. Chooseyourpathbooks.com.
That's smart.
Cool.
That's a smart name. And you've got a lot of
Mhm.
sports books too.
Yeah, that's something we took. The business took sort of a left turn about 4 or 5 years ago, and we started dabbling in sports books. And they were so successful that we've just continued to do them. And the money we bring in from the sports books actually helps us get creative and try these other experimental projects.
That's
So
cool. That's cool.
the sports books are very successful. Yeah.
I
Right on.
just feel like you could be doing board games too for your books.
That would be fun. I
Mhm.
don't think my wife wants me to do any more though.
I
But
know, could you have to buy a house so that he could put the board books?
Don't
the
tell
board
her I
games in
said
there.
it then, but I
Board
think you
books.
should do it.
That's what you need is a board book. So like the
I
book
just
has a
think-
board game in it.
Yeah.
Telling you
that has
Like
crossed
the-
my mind. I've thought of that before, and
Mm.
I don't have the connections right now to be making board games, but maybe someday.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
you
never
board
know.
games would be cool.
Yeah,
Or just at least cards. You could do cards. Ooh,
Hmm.
yeah, that would be fun.
ooh, ooh. I got an idea on that. Very cool. Well,
Oh,
thank you
yeah.
so much for joining us.
Hmm.
I know I love talking with people like you because your brain, you're like one of those creative people that just dust
Mm.
off little creativity wherever you go. And so
Yeah.
now,
I
now my
try.
head's in the stars somewhere, but I have an idea. So that's cool.
Good,
So
good for you.
yeah, see, these books are not just for middle-aged kids. I mean,
You're right. A card game would be cool.
middle age. I
Mhm.
know what middle age
And a
is.
lot
They don't.
less expensive to produce.
Yes. Yes.
So the Wizard of Oz could be in. Ooh,
I know.
yeah,
This is
card.
fun.
Pitch me your ideas, and maybe we'll publish it.
There you go.
Okay.
So everyone, chooseyourpathbooks.com. And also, of course, keep up with us at bigblendradio.com. Thank you so much, Ryan.
Yes, thank
Yeah,
you. It's been
that's
great
fun.
talking to you.